Today there is a uh, chapter which Yogananji has included in Autobiography of Yogi about J.C. Bose. J.C. Bose, he is a great scientist, Indian scientist, Jagdish Chandra Bose. So why a scientist is here in this book? Why the story of scientist is there? First thing, it is an autobiography of Yogi. So, as we last time discussed, that this book, Autobiography of Yogi, is not just an autobiography of somebody like anybody else, but it is a lesson which Yogananji has shared with us, that whatever he has experienced in his life, whatever his anubhavas were, he has shared with us in the journey of spiritual path. So, how slowly and steadily, as an ordinary being, how he grew up in the spirituality from a very childhood, having inclination towards learning, towards knowing more, towards finding his guru, and how he has, you know, written all this in Autobiography of Yogi, sharing with us that this is a part of the journey. We should be also open-minded. We should also have that inclination towards gaining the knowledge from everything, so that when the dots comes together, we are able to understand the bigger picture of it. And this one chapter is like that here. So what this chapter is telling us, that Jagdish Chandra Bose, he was a great scientist of his time, India, and was in India. But he had studied in West in Cambridge. So his inventions, he had done many inventions, and one of it was, many are there which I'll discuss today, and it is very close to my heart because this chapter, at the end of it, you will find that it helps us to understand how universe is one, how we all in the universe, anything, be it living, non-living, for us non-living, but how living everything is there, and how everything around us is so sensitive, how everything around has emotions, be it anything which we consider matter in various forms, and we say that something is living and something is non-living. But in this chapter, Yogananji has shared with us, a guru, the master, who has shared with us that through various inventions of Jagdish Chandra Bose, he has given examples of him and said that we all are one. So the one of the Jagdish Chandra Bose's inventions were wireless inventions, which which was Marconi's age, which is around early 19th. From that time, he is telling us that Jagdish and Bose had done various inventions, and one of them was wireless. But if you go and search on the Google, you'll find some French name there, because he says that Bose, he says that uh, about that, I cannot deny my keen interest in evidence that India can play a leading part in physics, and not only metaphysics alone. So when Guruji, when Master Yogananji, he was walking side across, and then he heard some professor engage in scientific discussions. When he heard them, he overheard them, and he said that if my motive in joining them was racial pride, I regret it, because he was in West, he was in America, and that time he just joined the all the scientists, the professors, various professors who were coming for the scientific discussion. He joined them, and not for a racial pride, but he said that I just wanted to know what the discussion is on the scientific matter was. And he says that he already had this inclination. That is why he went uh, from India towards the West. And he says that it is India can play a leading part in physics, and not only metaphysics alone. Metaphysics and spirituality already, India was known throughout the world, from various sages and through various masters from age from various yugas itself. So he says that one of the professors was there who was very close to him, and that is how he went there. Said that professor told him that Jagdish and Bose was the first one to invent a wireless coherer, and an instrument for indicating the refraction of electric waves. So, what is the coherer? Coherer is like the waves we see right now in physics, whoever has studied, and we see that the waves comes across, the reflection of the electric waves can be studied, that how the closer it is, the wider it is. So that was invented by Bose, Jagdish and Bose, and it was a very powerful instrument. So he said that, but Indian scientists did not exploit his invention commercially, and Indian scientists they just wanted to, experiment something they wanted to invent, but not for money. So Jagdish Chandra Bose was also one of them who did not do any inventions and did not wanted it to be commercially sold. He never ever patented any of his inventions. What happened is that after he was first inventing and he was doing a lot of experiments in the inorganic world, and then he started doing on the organic world, that we will know more. He said his revolutionary discoveries as a plant psychologist are outpacing even at the radical achievement as a physicist. So he did lot of experiments with a plant, lot of them, and he was able to prove that how plants are sensitive. They also have emotions. So he said that when after that, when he went home, Jagdish, into this professor's home, who lived very nearby to Yogananji's house. So once he went there and he said that, why don't you come along with me? So there, when he went to the, uh, he said that I have recently returned from the expedition to the scientific societies of the West, and Jagdish Chandra Bose was his mentor. This professor's mentor was Jagdish Chandra Bose. So when he went there, he saw that the Bose choreograph, one of the another instrument which he had done was, first was the coherer, which he has stated here, and the other instrument which was more very delicate and of intense interest was the crescograph. So crescograph was a powerful microscope. It was uh, microscope only enlarges a few thousand times. If you put something under the microscope, you can see a large image which is like few thousand times. But this crescograph was 10 million magnifications. It could expand the image of whatever you keep and start observing it. It has an enormity of the 10 million magnifications. So if a small leaf is placed or a small stem is placed under that crescograph, it can look like a huge big screen, as we have a TV screen these days, enormous ones like that. So he said that it was so vital impetus to the biological scientists. This criscograph opens incalculable vistas, which means that he says that when he went to the Cambridge, he's talking about J.C. Bose. So he says that when he went to Cambridge, and he says that how admirable Western method of submitting all theory. So whenever he had to do something, any experiment, he had to submit his theory, but along with the experimental verification. So he said how Western were more inclined toward the experimental verification to be submitted along with the theory. Same way, India is known for introspection, that we do not believe in experiment alone, but we outside itself, but within itself also. है ना? So we do introspection within, and then whatever is written about the spiritual facts in the books, we observe it inside, and then we validate it for ourselves that yes, it happens or not happens, right? So if we say observe your breath, then we do an introspection. Yes, what happens after we start observing our breath? You know, so same way, Western countries, they will do a experimental verification along with any of the theories submitted. So that's why he says that Western and Eastern together, when they come together, then there is a evidence together that it is a powerful evidence that whatever happens, whatever has been experimented and proven. So he says that his crystallograph charts, whatever he had, they are evidence for the most skeptical that plants have a sensitive nervous system. We only see that okay, there is a nerve-like structure in the leaf. There is a nerve-like structure over a whole of a tree. When you observe, then we see okay, it has branches and then it has sub branches. It has a huge trunk. Like our nervous system, as how we have in human system. Same way, he says that though it looks like outside, but we also when the plant is researched, in the crystallograph, then it is also proven that plants have sensitive nervous system. It's not just looking like, but it is in reality a very sensitive nervous system which has varied emotional life such as love, hate, joy, fear, pleasure, pain. So it has many of the emotional things, just like a human being. Plant also has emotions of love, emotions of hate, joy, fear, pleasure, and pain. And this has been proven by use of crystallograph. And he says that, and it has countless appropriate responses to stimuli are the universal in plants and animals. Everybody. So we think, okay, it's only in human, or it is only in some stage till and in animals. But in plants also, it has been proven that they also have emotional life. Plants also have emotional life. And that is why now, when we say that, okay, this chapter has been a part of Yogananji's autobiography, it is very, very appropriate. Why he has included it? Because we are universally one. That is the message through this chapter, saying that we all are universally one and same. So, another thing he has said that the um, life in all creation could seem only poetic. We say that, okay, very in poems and all, we say, oh, life in all creation seem to be universal. But he says the professor, he remembers when Yogananji is observing all this and is hearing to the professor and to Jagdish Chandra. He says that I have come across one saint whom I knew that he would never pluck flowers. One of the saint never would pluck flower. That is what he's telling his professor friend. And he says that, shall I rob the rose bush? Why he's not doing that, saint? The reply was from the saint was that, how can I rob? How can I just rob the rose bush of its pride and beauty? It's taking so much pride in its beauty. If somebody is just wearing a necktie or something and it's just pulled off, the person will feel, or is wearing something which feels so pride, like ladies wearing a flower or something, and it's just pulled off, how a lady will feel. Same way, the saint replied that, how can I rob a rose bush of its pride and beauty? Shall I cruelly affront its dignity by my rude divestment? So that is how that saint had the feeling towards the plant, because he went introvert and he could feel that same thing which was now proven through crystallograph, that every plant, even the leaf, small leaf, a small stem has the emotion life. So he says that now next he said about the he says to him that after taking him all this by side, he says, come to my laboratory. This he goes says to Yogananji and invites him to his laboratory. And he says, I'll show you some of the testimony of the crystallograph. So he accepts and he goes to that laboratory. And there, so before that, he was a professor in Cambridge, in Presidency College. So after that, when he goes to his laboratory, he says that it was so beautiful. The entire place was very, very beautifully done. I'm not going through that now, but let's go to the experiments he has done. So he says that that laboratory which J.C. Bose has done, which is known as Jagdish Bose J.C. Bose Laboratory. He says it's not only a laboratory but a temple for me. J.C. Bose tells Yogananji that it's a temple for me. And he says that his reverent solemnity stole like an unseen cloak over the crowded auditorium. And what was so amazing to it? Why it was so amazing? Because he says that I found boundary lines vanishing and points of contact emerging between realms of the living and non-living being. That is why Yogananji has says that laboratory is not a laboratory; it is a temple, because he found that there are boundary lines vanishing between plant, animals, and human being. And he says that it is a point of contact emerging between the realms of living. It's a point of contact where everybody can talk. The plants can talk to animals, and animals all the three, plant, animals, and human being, can talk to each other. There were no demarcation between each of them, because now it was proven in this laboratory that they all have same emotions, and whatever happens to the human being or the animal also happens to the plants. So he says that inorganic matter was perceived as anything but inert. It was a thrill under the action of multitudinous forces. But now a universal reaction happened. So when he had talked about this, then he says that he had done another experiment on the metal. You know? So he says that be it plant, be it metal or animal, under the same common place, under the same common law, the universal reaction seemed to be to bring all these, be it metal also. So he came to from human being to animal, animal to plant, and he researched so much, J.C. Bose. And after that, he brings the metal also, which is for us it is non-living. No, we today we will just take our utensils and sometimes it will fall down. We are emotionless about it. No, sometimes we just throw the metal here and there. But he is telling about the metal also, how they are also emotionally bound, like how we have. So same common law applies to the metal, plant, animal, and we all come under the common law. And he has exhibited it. He exhibited it, saying that the same phenomena of fatigue and depression can, with possibilities of recovery and of exhalation, as well as the permanent irresponsiveness associated with death. So how in human being, how in animal happens that there is fatigue, we get tired, we get depressed, you know. Same way he has found those emotions in fatigueness in the metal also, and it has been proven. And also he has said that how we become irresponsive after the death, na? That we become motionless. There is nothing within us now. We become permanent irresponsiveness. Same way it has been proven by him in the metals also. So what he did was that he demonstrated by, and this has been demonstrated by experiments. So he says that the psychologist presented advice to me confine myself physical investigations. So what happens when he gave this as a theory? The scientist told them to give the practicality of also to present it and present advice to me confine myself physical investigations. So that is what he did it afterwards. He in his lab, um, he took he was carrying out many experiments, no. So he said that when he took a leaf under the crystallograph, then he had placed that stem, and after that he gave he just pressed the stem tip, the tip of the fern. Sorry, he had taken a fern, and he attached the fern, he at the crystallograph to the fern, whatever, and then the fern, when he saw the fern, it was magnification is tremendous. That fern became very big. He could see a huge form under the crystallograph. And he says, as if we could keep the snail crawling under the crystallograph, it will move like a train. It will be so fast, like an express train. So when he had put this fern under the crystallograph graph, then he could see the minute life movement were now clearly perceptible. He could see that how life is slowly moving in that fern. The plant was growing very slowly before his fascinated eyes. The plant was growing every time, very slowly it was growing, but it was growing. And then the scientist touched the tip of the fern with a small metal bar. They both touched the tip of the fern with a small metal bar. And when the bar was placed on the tip of the fern, the developing phantomine, the development stopped, and it abrupted halt happened as soon as the small metal bar was put on the fern tip. And when the metal bar was lifted back again, it resumed the eloquent rhythm, and as soon as the rod was withdrawn. So when the rod was withdrawn, the rhythmic life again regained within the fern. So he says that that is when he says that you saw how any slight outside interference in even a small interference on the tissue of that fern, how it will be. So he says, now I will put the chloroform on this and then give the antidote. That also he showed an experiment to Master Yogananji. So when he did that, he took a sharp instrument. He took a very sharp instrument to the part of the fern. Fun was there. He just took a sharp instrument through that part of the fern and pays for pain. He could see that fern is having a pain. A pain was indicated by a spasmodic, on which he can see the numbers coming in, the the graph appearing. So when the graph appeared, it showed the pain on the fern, in the fern, which the fern experienced by putting the sharp instrument on it, and it fluttered like a butterfly, that fern. So this all can be not seen by a naked eye, but that all was visible under the crescograph, which was very, very powerful. When he passed a razor partially through the stem, again he passed the razor partially on the partially through the stem, the shadow was violently agitated. It became agitated. The fern also felt the pain of the razor and stilled itself with the final punctuation of the that. And then finally, with the pain, with the violent agitation, it it showed that how in death it happens. Finally, it was still, completely still, which proved that how fun is also emotionally, how they have emotions, how they also feel depressed, how they also feel pain. This all was proven by him. Then he says that why they are experimenting, why Jagdish Bose is experimenting on trees. He says it's just to show that he had taken the example of the fern, but he said that he had used the chloroform on huge trees. And why they had used the chloroforming? By doing so, they were able to successful transplantation of the trees were done. So they were given the chloroform for some time, and then they had to retransplant from one place to the another, which was successfully done without they having any pain, without they going dry. So he said that in many of these forests they have achieved it successfully. And Jagdish Singh Bose was telling very smilingly, happily about how he has saved so many lives of many, many trees. And he says that graphs of my dedicated apparatus of, has proved that trees possesses a circulatory system. We have circulatory system, right? Human beings, animals have. Same way, even trees have circulatory system. He proved through this instrument, and how that circulatory system, how it happens in our nerves and arteries, right? Same way in circulatory system, in the sap of the sap movement, which happens in the plants, is many. It corresponds to the blood pressure of the animal bodies. How the blood pressure is there, no? How blood move with the pressure of the blood, how it moves to the various cells. Same way, the sap movement happens in the plants, which he has proven. And he says that phenomenon has been solved to the crescograph as the activity of living cells. This all has been proven through this crescograph, which was the most powerful instrument of that time and today. So he says that um, there are peristellatic wave tissues from cylindrical tube which extends down a tree and serves as an actual heart. So these, how we have a heart, same way a cylindrical tube which is there, which is extended down the tree, also serves as an actual heart of the tree. And that all he has proven through all these experiments, which has been also submitted through his theory, through his thesis. So the great scientist pointed to another Bose instrument. This professor who is telling, he showed another Bose instrument to the master, and he says that now we will show you another experiment on the piece of the tin, the life force in metal. So he says that till now we have shown you experiment which we have done it on the fern, on the tree, we have talked about it, various experiment, but now on the metal also responds adversely or beneficially to the stimuli. So he says that the ink markings will register the various reactions, and he had put some ink markings on the tin plate, a small plate of a tin, and with the markings of the ink, which will show how tin responds. So when the professor applied um, the graph which recorded the characteristic wave of atomic structure. So now there was a graph which will show the atomic structure of the metal, and how atomic structure of the metal will be impacted is the experiment that will show how even the emotions are there in a piece of a tin in the metal also. So when the professor applied chloroform to the tin, the vibratory writing stopped. So as if we after the unconsciousness happens and no function will happen in the body if chloroform is given to a human, they will not be sensitive about that part of the body. Same thing, when the chloroform was applied on the tin, the vibrating writing stopped. They recommended as the metal slowly regained, and then it was as if the metal has become unconscious, and therefore there was no vibrations, and um, the instrument was recording the vibrations of the metal of any of the organism which was placed into it. So now when there was no vibration, it showed that even with the chloroform, the tin also reacted by becoming unconsciousness. And slowly after, chloroform started becoming more feeble, and then they recommended as a metal, they recommenced, the vibration recommenced as the metal slowly regained its normal state, as the chloroform became was not uh, active in the body on the tin. Then slowly it recommenced. The metal slowly regained the normal state. So he said, my companion dispensed a poisonous chemical. After this first experiment on the tin of the chloroform, the Jagdish Chandra Bose, and the professor, sorry, who was like a disciple to his mentor Jagdish Chandra Bose, he again dispensed a poisonous chemical on the tin, and simultaneously, with the quivering end of the tin, there was a tin which flapped on the end, and the needle drastically wrote the chart of a death notice. And it was seen that tin was no more responding to anything, as if it was dead. So even it was proven that the tin also has same emotions. They have same reactions to the thing which we react to. So like tin was chloroform, and to the poisonous chemical, same way tin also reacted as the plant would have done or animals would have been done. So why these experiments were being done and why they are so much of importance to us in this spirituality is that both instruments have demonstrated that metals such as steel used in scissors. So he says that even the steel, even any metal such as steel or as metals used in scissors, machinery, or any kind of other thing, any kind of metal, they also are subject to fatigue. They go tired, they become very tired. So they become less efficient. They will become more heated because they are fatigued. So he said that they regain efficiency after the periodic rest. If I just coming back to this example or the experiment, if we use mixie and grinder jar, we just do it for some time, for few seconds, and then give a rest, and then again we do it. Why? Because the we say mixie has become, it gets tired, but actually the metals which are there, they become fatigue. Even the machine itself become fatigue, and it needs a periodic rest, how we human beings need, how animals need. So the life pulse in metal is seriously harmed or even extinguished throughout the application of electric current or heavy pressure. So they also become fatigue. So he says, like this, countless uses of Bose experiments are there. So many are there. And he said that going forward, rather than experimenting many things on human body or the animal body, the plants can contribute towards it. Various plants can contribute to doing certain experiments which are similar to what will be done on the animal. So countless uses of Bose instruments will be made by future generations. The scientists seldom known contemporaries reward, no. So he says that scientists don't go for rewards. Their reward is whatever they have receive whatever their experiment results are. That itself is their thing. That itself is their reward. So even Jagdish Chandra Bose or many scientists of India never restricted with patenting their achievements. And he says that Bose would have has done extensive researches on innumerable Indian plants and enormous unsuspected pharmacopoeia or useful drugs are revealed through by him. And he says that this cardiograph, one of the machine for the cardiograph he had done, that also is a remarkable thing which he had done, and which not only pulsates in human body but also resonates record measures in the plant, animal, and human structure also. So he has done many of these inventions, which today he said that time people never recognized it when he had done it. But going forward, one day will come where all these machines will be used by human being, will be used for experimenting and taking decisions about human life and animal life together, how we can really make a difference to the world when we say we are all one, how we can become more and more compassionate towards everything that is around us. It will help us with to spread the love not only to human but to plants and animals in such a way that we do not harm even the metals. So that is what the learning from this lesson and he wanted to impart from with us. And I really feel that yes, this chapter makes us feel that we all are one, be it anything. How even if we keep our specs down, no. Today I feel that that will be hurt, be softer and gentler to everything around us. So thank you so much uh, for having me here today and sharing this with you. Thank you to Guruji.